I'm Elisa Mortensen, and this is Undo Redo.
Christmas is upon us. It's 2025. Some of my kids couldn't make it up to Eden, Utah this year, so we will be headed down to Las Vegas where they live, and all of us are going. We talked my mom, dad, and my special needs sister into coming, so it's going to be a whole house, probably sardine style. Everybody's sleeping everywhere. So I hope your Christmas is going as planned. And I want to talk about all the chaos that hits and why I had such big anxiety this week. It's the time of the season's peace and goodwill and good messages and love, right? I am not feeling it this year. And so I wanted to bring you into my world and bring you into something that I've been thinking about and something that my teacher, Brooke Castillo, has taught me based on a book that she read. And so we'll get into that. First, I want a little bit of self-reflection. Are you one who talks about yourself as being highly sensitive and hints into sort of like a fragile, needing a cocoon or a shield, and very breakable type scenario? Right? It's Christmas. We could think about gifts. Like, are you a gift that is breakable easily and we need to have much caution and it needs like certain things in order to stay well? Or are you one of those gifts that like is, the book refers to it as robust or has everything together, right? And is anti-fragile, meaning there's nothing you can do that will hurt it. I want to talk about the way we talk about ourselves, right? What kind of a story are you telling? There's ways to be gentle and supportive with yourself after something has happened and to calm yourself until you feel more normalized. But then there's going too far into imagining yourself as one who is going to be broken easily or, dead if this happens, or just can't handle that kind of pressure at all, right? Just there's horrible tragedies at the other side of this scary thing that could happen. All right. There's taking care of ourselves, like I said, and then there's seeing ourselves as everything out to get us, and everything could come and take away our happiness or our peace and eventually kill us, really is where our brains go to. It can be that distraught. So I want to talk to you just right now about not being in a rush to label yourself as someone who have to guard yourself or super fragile. And there are some health reasons, right, out there too, but super fragile mentally or emotionally, because a lot of times we create this comfort bubble that we're unable to get out of and be in new situations. If we go too far, we're not practiced at it anymore. Being anti-fragile means that you've created a system that increases capability and you're able to thrive as a result of your stressors. So the more attacks, the more failures, the more mistakes there are in your life, the better you get at handling them. All right. So the more times you try to handle them and come out on the other side, the stronger you are. All right. So falling down and getting back up. It's often referred to like toddlers, how they walk, they fall over all the time and they just get back up. And they get back up and they get back up. Now, my mentor, Brooke Castillo, read a book that she mentioned that turned me to it. And it's a guy named Nassim Taleb. And his work talks about these three different areas. He categorizes people into three different areas. He calls them fragile, which means we are framing disorder and chaos as harmful. Robust means you are resisting the shocks of disorder, but you're staying the same, which is neutral. An anti-fragile person is more of a system that actually is strengthened by stressors, vitality, and disorder. The benefits of growing under that pressure, he says, are extreme, which is pretty exciting. So do you consider yourself fragile, like breakable when there's disorder and chaos and things aren't as you planned or don't go your way? Are you robust, meaning I can withstand the pressure and the shock? Or are you anti-fragile, which means I am able to grow myself from this pressure and become something new and stronger because it's there. All right. That's the whole premise of this. And I want to pull out some different things as we get talking. Now, if you break any time when you consider a failure or a mistake or something that comes at you and attacks you, just take notice. You'll be avoiding any kind of risk or challenge, which makes you weaker. All right. Robust means you're withstanding them, correct? And that you can be okay, so you don't mind some of them coming. But I imagine you don't enjoy them. Like nobody enjoys them, right? But being anti-fragile is actually a strengthening and building opportunity for you. And that is the only way to be built and to grow, to have that opportunity. So I want to talk to you about stress not really being the enemy. I want you to think about the challenges in your life. So many of us are living a life by protecting ourselves from way too much instead of allowing some of this to happen and growing. Now, we want to be able to be cautious. We want to be able to have a clear mind. And you don't get torn muscles if you don't lift something heavy, right? So that muscle can only be built with the tearing down of it. Otherwise, it just goes atrophied. So are you fragile, and maybe your inner strength and that even that robustness can be breakable? If you have stayed away for too long from challenges and stressors and protected yourself really well, that muscle will be atrophied. And the theory that you are fragile and the story that you have is that it means you can't take on the stress and that you can't take the pressure. If you hear yourself talking in ways that you can't do these things, then maybe you are fragile in some of these areas. So listen to yourself as you're telling these stories. Eavesdrop on your mind, right? You're going to end up going in the opposite direction of strength and resilience. Maybe you're robust and you have the ability to stand up to things, but you are also not utilizing that kind of pressure for growth. If you're robust, you're just staying the same and able to withstand things, which is neutrality, which is a great place to be compared to fragile, but it's like not as awesome and doesn't feel as good as becoming a stronger version of yourself. So lots of people go through trauma and they're strengthened afterwards. Lots of people go through trauma and they're weaker afterwards. And it's because of what happens and how they're framing what happens. So there's this shift that must happen to get over and move past and see somehow the benefit from having had that happen. If you can't move over or get past or come to an agreement with yourself or a story that has benefit from something happening, then you will remain fragile. This is just a use of our agency. Right? And you're welcome to use any stressor in your life as a tool to gain the strength, making yourself more than before because of the stressor, or by overcoming it and not having it be a bother to you anymore. Oh, I've dealt with this. I've got this. I know how to do this. And then a new stressor will come along and it will challenge you and it will be new to you. It will knock you down. It will test you. But this is the process. And then you gain resilience towards that because now you do know what you can do to make yourself stronger in that area. So if you think about being easily damaged, has this been you? Is this your story? Is that how you have been identifying yourself? Have you seen others talk about someone in that way, like that person is fragile? And is it entirely true? Like what everyone's saying about that person, is it entirely true? Because we're all 50-50. Even the most horrible person on the earth dies and someone has something good to say about them. Let's remember that. We are all amazing and we all suck sometimes. This is our human experience. It's always 50-50. But listen to how we go off about someone or how we frame ourselves to others. Do we do that to ourselves? I really want you to come to see if you are casting yourself in a role as someone who is very fragile throughout your life. Because it doesn't mean that that is the reality of it, because everybody has stuff that may knock them down. A lot of times people will just make decisions whether that knocks them down or not. They don't, like, to be fragile is to always decide it will break you and knock you down. And to be anti-fragile is to always decide that this won't do me in and this won't break me. I will continue on. You see it? And the robust is just kind of staying neutral. So what anti-fragile isn't is putting your head down or white knuckling through something, right? That's the opposite. Also, the opposite is if someone is anti-fragile, it doesn't mean you're not paying attention. It doesn't mean you're naive. It means that you're open to feeling the negative and uncomfortable and the sad and mad and gross things in life, because you're learning to evolve yourself beyond what you're capable of doing this time that seems like a lot into next time where you have more reinforcements inside because you've been exposed to it. So there's a contrast to everything. When you're sailing along and you're loving the calm and there's no storms and the water's just kind of nice, it's silly to think in that moment that things will just remain that way forever. Because when we think that and then something comes along, we're really upset at that, right? So if we get our power from a good challenge, we get our resilience from a really good challenge and coming out on the other side of it. The scriptures say that it must needs be that there is opposition in all things. And there's a reason for that. My go-to is anxiety. Like I said, I've had anxiety this week. It was capped out in the middle of the week. My special needs sister was here and she wasn't even a part of it. She was just here and we were going for bike rides and going to the post office and doing some crafts and wrapping some gifts. We had a great time. All the while I had anxiety, like through the roof anxiety. I was needing to breathe. I was calming myself. She was actually a pleasant distraction from my own woes. My go-to anxiety, now that's a fear-based emotion. Last week, I had it quite a bit. And as I was taking deep breaths, I would close my eyes. I tapped into my body and where I was feeling it. And nothing was really getting rid of it. Nothing was helping. Then I began to eavesdrop on my mind. That there's a reason this anxiety is here. It's not here for no reason. What is it that is inviting it here? I'm smart enough to know it's something that I'm thinking, not necessarily something I'm going through, but how I'm thinking about what I'm going through, right? And it was clear to me after a bit that some recent events with some of my kids had me, right? It held me. It was buckling me. You want to hear my thought? Now, I knew I had anxiety. I knew things were hard for me. I could also see that my parents needed a break from my sister, so I invited her over and she took me up on the offer. And she's not a bother to me at all. She doesn't faze me much anymore, where it maybe used to be something that early on when I had little kids, it was she's able to turn against me sometimes and leave the room. Doesn't bother me a bit. Used to maybe, get my dander up a little bit or ruffle my feathers a little bit, but she can curse me behind a closed door. I pay no mind to it because I'm resilient in that area. But I needed all of that time to be with her in those times in order for me to get my resilience, because it super bothered me a long time ago, but it doesn't bother me now. That's anti-fragile. All right. But these things that are happening with my kids just this week, and the reason that I had this fear-based emotion and this anxiety is because I was thinking about the decisions that they're making being permanent, and nothing is really permanent, right? Everything gets taken care of, if not in this life, in the next. So I was basing something that I was helping my kids get through, framing it as like, how do they not know? And why aren't they choosing this? And surely if they knew, they wouldn't be doing this. And do they know that it could affect their future and that it could do this and this and this? And like, I was just kind of running with it in my mind. And yeah, it got me. It held me. And that anxiety that I had for several days was a little bit more hanging on that I wanted to, but I was still believing the story that this was so permanent and that this was so detrimental or devastating or hard for them, or how are they going to, deal with all of it. Like, my mind was just off the hook. So all in all, I understand and have so much compassion for everyone in any challenge and in any stressor, because this is what it feels like. All right. There there are areas that I've done so much work in that I'm not phased anymore. And I know this can be an area that I will do more work in that will not phase me as much as it has this last week. So back to eavesdropping on my thoughts. What ended up being my false thought was letting my mind repeat the same story. The story that sounded like these kind of struggles the kids are having can cause permanent pain and future challenges for them. And these kind of struggles that my kids are having don't just go away. How did I not teach them better? Like, surely they knew, and if they knew, they wouldn't be doing this, things like that. And the clencher here, the one that I think held me in the anxiety for more days, was this under the scenes thought that needed to surface that I did find, that was, maybe it's my fault for not making sure they knew more about the danger of these things. If they really knew, they wouldn't have ever considered doing that, right? That's a big one, because that blames me for their use of agency, which is actually, maybe there's some accountability in it somewhere, but that's not how we go about handling our brains. That's not how we go about them handling their situations and learning on their own and separating like what's mine to control and what's theirs to control, because they're adult children, right? This just holds me in anxiety for too long and constantly. Now, we are warned over and over, past tense fear, future tense fear. It can close us down. It can make us desperate. It makes us want to control others in order to get out of that fear. Just for a minute or two, and it may work. Go ahead and try to control someone. It'll give you relief for a minute or two. You can really come down on someone and harp and correct them, and you'll get a quick hit of it feeling better. But in the long run, it doesn't work. Now, when I had anxiety, I still kept up with my coaching. I kept up with my business, my workouts, my schedule for getting things done and Christmas ready and things ready to go to Vegas. It only slowed down my inner work. And in the past, this would have shut me down completely. I wouldn't have been able to have shown up for anything. Not my workouts. I probably would have eaten really bad and I wouldn't have got things done. I would have spun all day in my emotions, and it would have been a very low production day for me, very low productivity when I really let it run me. But when I noticed that I wasn't completely shutting down, I was really proud of myself. Now, I still had the anxiety at this moment. I was very proud of myself for not shutting down completely. And that's when I was on to myself. That's when I noticed, and that's when I realized that most times my worst emotions bring me to my most excellent clarity and breakthroughs, which that is the strength I'm talking about. So it was kind of exciting. Now, listen, the most solid people in the world are not afraid of their emotions. In this season of this holiday Christmas season, we are celebrating Christ. He was the perfect example of this, the perfect example of being anti-fragile. He did not fear. He had clarity the whole way through. He didn't need fear to make him act. He didn't need fear to show up. He didn't need fear in anything that he did. He was faith. He is the epitome of it. Now, in John 14:27, he says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." So we get peace when we let him be in charge. He has already taken care of everything on everyone's behalf, and it's up to us. It's up to us now to take him up on his offer. Men are that they might have joy. All right? For him to give us peace. If we don't choose all the reasons to fear so often. All right? Now I want to take you a little bit deeper into the mind-body connection, meaning how your thoughts bring up your emotions, not the other way around. People think, oh my gosh, I'm feeling this emotion. I have some thoughts about it. No, you had some thoughts that brought up the emotions. That's a more accurate way of saying it. We know so much about the brain nowadays, and that's the way it truly is. So that's just outdated, my friend. Let's get the truth to all of you. How very solid people learn to have all the terrible emotions and to work on them and come out on the other side is they analyze what's going on when it's happening, or they look back on it if they're not in the present moment. What happened? How did it happen? They have a very compassionate dialogue with themselves. They give themselves grace for losing it, for having the anger, and for coming undone. Right? I talked to my coach about it. We see every single part of it. And when you see yourself in real time, every single part of it, even if you have to look back on a recent something that really crumbled you, you see what, you see where, and you see why. And now your mind has more information to use towards the next time. Because before you didn't have that information. And now that you've looked at it long enough, now you have that information. So when you're in a similar situation, you have a record to pull up, new insights as to who you are, what you do, and how you respond, because it's very nuanced. Not everybody thinks the same. And it's showing your brain that you can learn from your last episode, I call them. And what happens inside most of us is that when we've seen ourselves shut down, we've seen ourselves lose it, we've seen ourselves react to them in ways that feels desperate and devastating, and we've got to control it and just jump on it and harp on it. And as a result of that, we can reaffirm our story about our fragility instead of doing what it takes to thrive and stay in the horrible emotion while we're observing it. Or we can use what we've learned about ourselves from last time to keep our mind present, not turning to blame or grudges or control and looping back in our powerlessness and victimization that holds us, but instead seeing the truth of it all, seeing our hand in it, our perpetuation of it, and our upsetness, using our free will to create the outcome we choose. Our focus, what we decide to think on, chooses our outcome. That's how we choose it. We think life just happens to us daily. Oh, we'll wait and see what life brings. That's not the case. We choose our outcome. I can decide ahead of time what my day will go like, and no matter what comes at me, I can remind myself that my day is going to go like this. Maybe it looks like I don't care. Maybe it looks like I'm naive. I'm also able to be anti-fragile sometimes with certain things. Now, this last week was a whole different story because I let my brain go unmanaged. And that's going to happen. I don't expect perfection. But this process that I'm talking about is called learning how to feel and keeping your power. It works with any shame. It works with any amount of embarrassment and whatever you are feeling. I think about my own willingness now to feel any emotion, to really experience it, to be comfortably very uncomfortable with it, if that makes any sense, and thrive through it. Thrive through it meaning I don't crumble and go into a helpless, dark despair like I used to. I purposely expose myself to those horrible negative emotions. I don't go seeking them out, but I don't push them away and try to control them and be upset when they come. But I purposely don't resist them when they're there. If I'm already angry about something, I allow myself to have that anger. Now, I don't act on it, but I am willing to feel the anger that I brought up because I had an angry, intense, judgmental thought. The more times I do, the more times I can get good at it. People say you get good at whatever you're doing well, but I think it's quite the opposite. You get good at whatever you're not doing well at. Now, when you don't do well, it teaches you more than when you do well. That kind of confidence is the ultimate confidence, using your own power to become more. That is unshakable. Fragile people must be assured. They have to be validated. They have to be seen. They have to constantly be seen as awesome, or else they break because nobody thinks they're amazing. Why? Because they don't even think they're amazing. They know they're fragile. And that's the real clincher, is what do we believe about ourselves? What story do we hold about ourselves? But the anti-fragile one knew they did their best, never let someone else's opinion or someone else's lashing out tear them down. They do not change their thinking. They know everything's fine. Most of us, if we were booed off stage, or people had some negative thought about us, would take offense and go around trying to tell our story and convince everybody that it wasn't us and control and fix things, because if we don't hurry and fix it, we will break. We will feel bad about ourselves. And the worst feeling in the world is to feel bad about ourselves, like we did something wrong. We must feel good about ourselves all the time. Can you hear that we're just afraid of feeling an emotion? We feel bad about ourselves, we feel good about ourselves, and it's so scary to us. It's like such a big deal. I am so fragile, right? People have to say, I am right. I'm the only one that does it the right way. And if anything threatens that, they break. Some of us have to be right so often that we will turn on the one we love in order to be right. In a split second, if they're doing anything wrong, we have to be right that bad that we will have belittling comments, we'll shame them so we don't have to feel it. Because we're fragile. We feel better for one little minute knowing that they feel shame and that they feel wrong. So we don't have to feel shame and we don't have to feel wrong. It's very intense. Some people have to really go there to extremes. And this is where you see a lot of people being mistreated. Because if we're wrong, we just feel awful. So I gotta hurry and be right so I don't feel awful. And then we do horrible things that make them feel like they're wrong and awful. And in the end, we're only afraid of how we feel. We just don't want to have to experience that negative emotion. So we go to great lengths to cover our tracks or to manipulate the situation so we don't have to feel those emotions, right? And that is being fragile. I've made so many mistakes and had so many failures in my community and with my kids. Whenever a challenge or a stressor comes up, I have learned how to take it upon myself. I've become vulnerable to what it means to live a more expansive life by feeling my emotions. Because all of the sudden, now that it's been this long, there's nothing I'm not willing to feel. I was willing to feel anxiety this week. I could observe myself having it the whole time. And the part that I want to drive home to you here is, it's not when I don't do good and perfectly. Like, I haven't had anxiety in years, right? It's the part like this last week that I could not keep myself together and that I was having anxiety regardless of how many breaths I took and tapping into my body and telling myself, better stories until I got rid of the story that was holding me in anxiety, until I found it and really questioned whether I wanted to keep that with me, because it was fear-based. Do I want to be in fear, or do I want to let go of everything that scares me so I can have peace? Right? I was failing at it for days until I found it. And only then did it turn into fuel that propelled me forward. I stand on a huge pile of failures, and I will never seek perfection. It's a fool's errand. It will never happen in this life, right? But I will chase progress. I will chase learning and being just a little bit better next time than last time. And if I'm not, I'm going to keep going, because I could be worse 10 more times and then be better too, and it's still a win. Most of the time, my worst emotions bring about my biggest clarity and breakthroughs. Most every time, these horrible, big emotions that crumble me bring about my most clear moments and my strength that comes right after, and my breakthrough with something amazing that I can be so proud and accomplished for because I hung in there through it. I didn't fight against it. I didn't lash out at other people. I didn't become someone I'm not and complain and grit my teeth and stomp around the house. I just felt it as I remained who I was. I'm a good sister. I'm a good wife. I'm a kind mom, right? So that is my goal. Many people refer to children walking in this type of process of growth. They fall over and they don't throw big dramatic fits. And sometimes they might. They just get right back up and walk again. They will fall over, bump into things hundreds of times. Do you ever see a toddler that just like got that walk down and they got their big belly and they're strutting along, right? They're so anti-fragile at that moment. Say something does bump them over, they get up and they can strut again. They've earned it. Every time they fell down, they pushed back up. they gained strength through that and the confidence to strut in between every time that happened. They didn't make it mean they couldn't handle it and they shouldn't ever do it again and sit there and quit, right? My mentor, Brooke Castillo, has taught me all of this. She would say, are you doing this to yourself? Are you framing yourself as fragile? Are you letting the challenges in life and relationship break you? I just want you to ask yourself, she says, because telling yourself you are too hurt, too exhausted, and just can't handle it, I want you to ask yourself why. Just notice the pattern that you've been in. It's just a pattern. It's one you can stop choosing and undo anytime. Do you want to choose that your stresses and challenges are reasons for you to just sit down and not continue? Do you really want that? They're a reason to avoid your life, a reason to don't do what it takes to be stronger. Right now in your life, as you're living in this life, you can frame it either way. It can either be something that helps you grow and figure it out better, or it can be something that totally shuts you down and then you go back into hiding. You can come back out and claim being fragile again. And then it breaks you down and then you go back in hiding and you can repeat a cycle of choosing fragility, or you can repeat a cycle of choosing inner strength and building and this being for you instead of against you. It's always a matter of agency. That's where I want to drive. I just want you to know that you don't have to, at the first sight of danger or trouble, check out and throw a big tense afraid fit. You don't have to give up. You don't have to decide that you tried and you failed and that's it. Because here it is again, and here it is again, and here it is again. There will always be something that is threatening to shut you down. It's just whether you do or not. So if we could just get used to this process in life and we stop being fragile and then we step above into robust where, hey, I'm not tipped over anymore. And then we can step above to even utilize it for more growth and more strength. Then you've stepped into your personal full capacity. You have a purpose in this life, and it's to reach the very highest capacity you are able to in your evolvement, in your personal growth. Don't ask how to do it. I've given you a pretty good outline. Your mind will take you to these places. Just try again and again. You are the only you. Your process of how is different from everyone else's. Just try again and try again. You're on your way if you're just trying again. If you thought of anyone as you were listening to this, please share it with them. The heavens reach us most often through one another. Be someone who heaven can count on. Also, find me on Instagram. Keep undoing your patterns of damage and keep redoing and live new, live on purpose. Reach out to me and tell me if you'd like if you have any suggestions on topics or questions that I can dive deeper into. I love hearing from you guys, and we'll talk again soon. Have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Talk to you next year. Bye.